So I'm going to go into the whole idea of this podcast is Life Unchained, right? And we've gone over what that is, what my mission is. And so I wanted to share a little bit more about me and about my journey of where I started and now how I feel like I'm living Life Unchained. So where should we start this? Let's start in post-graduation. So I went to LSU for 3 years after transferring from playing soccer at Philadelphia University. So I'm going backwards, starting in Philly. Went to LSU, and this was kind of when my issues kind of started, where I started questioning things and just I wasn't as happy as I could be, slipping into depression. Just the classes that I was doing, I hated them, like I wasn't interested in them, and this was supposed to be setting me up to do what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So conflict there. And so I graduate, I get a job in Baton Rouge, which is where LSU is. A lot of my friends who were already there were leaving. And so I was pretty lonely. I didn't have many people in Baton Rouge. I'm fairly introverted, and back then I wasn't as confident. So I was stuck in my own ways. I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was a nice apartment, but I just wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't confident to go out and meet new people. I had a phase where I was doing that, but it wasn't very fruitful and it was kind of half-assed. So that's kind of setting the scene. I'm in Baton Rouge. I'm working this job as an environmental engineer doing air pollution work. So working for companies like, I'm not going to name names, but companies that are in industry, right? So like chemical plants, oil refineries, stuff like that. And the whole reason why I got into environmental engineering, environmental sustainability was so I can help the planet and help the world and fight global climate change and sustainability. Back then that was like the main thing that I was into. But the work that I was doing was in direct conflict with that. I was helping these companies pollute more, find regulations where they can like maximize profits, and we would get paid because they would make more money and they wouldn't have to report something because of a specific regulation, how it's interpreted a specific way, so they can kind of get out of it. So it was kind of in direct conflict with what I really wanted to do. And that is the first domino to fall, is the work that I'm doing is very in conflict with my values. Then how, like the environment that I was working in, it was a big office, big company, but my team was really small. We were in a corner of the office. I had an office, which was cool. You'd think like, oh, cool. You have an office right out of college. That's awesome. But for me, it's very isolating. So I had an office on this side for the podcast, like for auditory, it was an L shape. So I'm on the bottom of the L and I had one office next to me. And that guy was also very quiet. He didn't, like we'd chat here and there about sports and stuff, but it was very surface level things. Then I had 2-3 people behind me that were on the team, but they really kept to themselves. They had their own projects, their own clients, and they just kind of did their own thing. Then all the way on the other side of the office was my boss, and he would pop in every now and then. But again, he would be very busy. He's very in demand, and every now and then we would touch base. And then there was another girl who was an entry level who didn't really have any work, and we'd talk every now and then. But there would be days when I really wouldn't have any human interaction with anyone. So I would go into the office, drink a cup of coffee. I drank so much coffee because I didn't have anything else to do, and I was so unfulfilled and bored with my life. So something to give me a little bit more energy and like something to look forward to, essentially. How sad that kind of sounds is, what I looked forward to in my life was the cup of coffee, and then another one, and then another one. I was heavily stimulated, but I was a consultant. And so there was a lot of periods where I just didn't have work to do. And that was very frustrating. But then the work that I did have to do sucked and I hated it. So just like in this lonely, isolated environment where I'm not doing work that I like, and then I'm going home and I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment, just like so disconnected from people, from my passions, like what I love. I wasn't really playing soccer at all because in Baton Rouge, there just wasn't much opportunity for organized soccer. I eventually started to play indoor with some friends, but that didn't last very long. So that's the stage. That's like the beginning. And so what's going on in my head is I'm just like, there has to be more to this. This can't be all that life is chalked up to be. You're supposed to get out of college and then it's like, wow, your life just started. Everything's awesome. But my life fucking sucked and I hated it. And every now and then on the weekends, I would go to New Orleans and just like party and get like short dopamine hits of hanging with friends. And that would get me through it. But it was empty and I was just not in a good place. So fast forward to maybe about working there for a year. One of the bosses of the New Orleans office comes to town and expresses how he is building a team and he wants another player. And I'm like, yes, hell yeah, I wanted that so bad. I would still be doing the same work, still be on the same team, but I'd be in New Orleans around friends, around people that I've known for a while with a much bigger sense of community. And I was about that. And then I would be working directly with someone that I'd known since high school. And that was awesome. So I took that and I worked there. Things got better. Like I was happier. I was more fulfilled, but still like deep down there, it was like, this can't be it. Like I don't want to be doing this work for the rest of my life. I just like, I'm looking forward to the weekends so much and living for the weekends. And every time Sunday night comes, I'm like, fuck, here we go again. It's another 5 days until I can like really start to enjoy my life again. So let me back up. So even in Baton Rouge, I was into fitness. So I got into it because I just was, like I said, unfulfilled and I needed a goal. I needed something to look forward to. So I got really into fitness, got really into nutrition, like tracking macros and going to the gym and progressive overload. I was doing like a Kino body workout. So reverse pyramid training, if you're aware of that. So really doing that and just, going hard in the gym, but wasn't really seeing the best results. And so fast forward to New Orleans, I'm a lot happier, not a lot happier, but more happier, right? It's a spectrum. So things are going better but not great. I still have these doubts of like where I'm headed, still like slipping into depression, still just not completely there. So I actually started an Instagram. So I started a blog. It's called Mark Holman Fitness. And this is really just where the idea was to become a blogger and make enough money on that to quit my job. But that's not how it went. How it went is, we'll get into that. It's kind of what I do now is coaching. So I was doing the blog, I was posting on Instagram, I was writing blog posts, and I was getting pretty good feedback just from people that I knew. I was enjoying it. This was like a fun thing that I was doing on the side that was kind of distracting me from the monotony of the day-to-day of the job that I was working. And sometimes I wouldn't have work to do, so I'd work on this stuff. And I was enjoying that. And then I got my own coach. So I hit a point where I was like, I've done what I can in terms of my fitness goals. I want to take it to the next level and I want to hire a coach. And so I had a few options, and one of the guy that I actually hired, I've been working with, I still work with today. So this is around 2017, 2018, maybe early 2018. And his thing was he was very spiritual. He was like going through a spiritual awakening. And up until this point, I would identify as an atheist. Like I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in a higher power or anything. I just didn't really understand. And I mean, look at my life. Like it sucked. And I was just like questioning so much. I was like, how can this be what it's about? And just in a very skeptical place. So hired a coach. And that really just opened up my eyes to like that possibility. Like people do this. This dude does this full time. He hasn't had a job. He just trains people online. And that sounds fucking awesome. And I had learned enough and when I get into things, I get pretty obsessed. So I went pretty hard. I would be reading articles, all these things, tons and tons of hours put into learning about health and fitness and like the best exercises, which is kind of a double-edged sword because that was causing me to spin my wheels. The overwhelm of all the information out there, not having a clear-cut plan, which a lot of the guys that I work with now, that is what they're missing. So I got a coach, gave me a clear-cut plan, and really started to take off. Like fitness goals were getting achieved. My main thing is I wanted a six-pack, and so we cut down pretty low. I think it was like 190 when I started, and I think we got to like 160 or something, and I was just like, skinny, like lean as fuck, but so skinny. Like my arms, ridiculously skinny, like sickly looking. And I can share a picture. I'll put a picture on a screen if I can do that. So I achieved that goal. And the thing there was I thought that would make me happy, but it didn't. You know, I still had these feelings of unfulfillment. I still just wasn't right. Something was off. And so throughout this whole period, a lot of the energy that I was putting towards fitness and health and all this stuff, educating myself on that, I put that on the back burner because I had someone telling me what to do and I would just do it. So I had all this bandwidth and I started to get very introspective and asking myself questions and really like diving deep. Is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? And I got the answer, absolutely not. And so I started to move forward towards this idea of becoming a coach. Started with the blog, and then I got that coach, and then I was like, wow, I can really do this. I can definitely help people. And so fast forward to September 2018, I put my 2 weeks notice in at my job. And after getting off that phone call with my boss, who was in Austin, like we didn't even have a boss in New Orleans at the time. They were firing people left and right. The weight that fell off my shoulders after I got off that call was ridiculous. I felt 20 pounds lighter. I felt so relieved, scared, but also so relieved because I knew I was headed in the right direction. And I was heading towards the feeling and the answer to the questions that I've been asking. Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I doing here? So I had clarity on that. So 2018, quit my job. 2 weeks later, I go to Costa Rica to visit some friends, stay there for about a week. I come back for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then I do my Euro trip. I fly to Copenhagen, stay there for 4 or 5 days, just fucking exploring. And then I went to Sweden, a rural island called Fletton on southwest coast, and just to stay there for a month. And this was like my introspective period. I was just working, like taking care of, it was like eco retreat. So I was taking care of just like cooking food, cleaning, just like super basic stuff. We were doing Tai Chi in the morning. It was a kind of spiritually oriented, kind of like a commune. The two people that used to work there lived on a commune. It wasn't commune like when I was there, but they had really cool stories and they had like perspectives that I had never been exposed to that really opened my eyes of like people live different ways. And it's not just go to school, get a job, 401k, retire when you're 60, which that was just ingrained in me. And I know that's like one of the chains that I had to break of this societal expectation chain. And this whole trip was me doing that, was me proving to myself that I could do something that I didn't think I could. Travel Europe alone for 2 months after quitting your job. Like, what the fuck? That is not in the path. That's not what a person does to achieve the life success that we're told. Like, completely out of left field. But it was so transformational for me. And my intention really was just like, go and understand myself a little bit more, understand what do I want to do when I come back. And about 2 months in, I had the answer. I was traveling around towards the end. I was like, I'm not enjoying this as much as I can. And I know what I want to do. I feel like I'm wasting time here and not fully enjoying it. So I'm going to go back. And this was right after my brother and my mom came to meet me, and we did Rome, Florence, and Venice, which was really awesome. And then I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm going to come back home with you guys. So I did that. Came back home. I stayed in Charlotte, where my parents live, for a bit, just to kind of get my bearings, get back into America, back on routines and everything. And then everything started. I moved back to New Orleans, back into the same apartment that I was living in, but with a completely different, I moved into a different apartment, I think. Doesn't really matter. So I'm back in New Orleans, but the goal here is way different. It's to start on the path to become an online coach. So what did I do? This is very humbling to go from an environmental engineer to making like 75, 80K a year to a glorified janitor at a gym. People would sweat. I'd see their sweat marks and I'd mop it up with a fucking Swiffer. I would clean the towels. I would go into the locker room and pick up dirty, wet towels, put them, just making sure that the place was running. Waking up at like 5 a.m. to go do this, like ridiculous, terrible, terrible job. But it was at a gym, and I made connections, and I got myself exposed to, so it was an initial first step. And it was just like a step I needed to take on the path to get to where I am now. So I did that, and then I got a job at a restaurant, which was so much fun. Like I talk about that with so admiration. It was just a lot of fun being a runner busser, and then getting upgraded to a server. So I was doing that on weekends and just making enough money to scrape by, all in the, with the idea behind this of like, okay, on my free time, I'm going to build this online coaching business, which wasn't going very well. Okay. So I was doing that for a bit. And then all throughout this time, I've been studying to get a personal training certification, because in my eyes, having that in-person training would be invaluable to transfer that online, because I know a lot of people just go online. They don't have the in-person experience, but I wanted the in-person experience, and I thought it was easier too. Like I'd get a job at a place that would funnel me clients. So I did that. I worked at Tulane, the gym, and then I also worked at a private gym. So I got exposed to different training philosophies and different people and different goals. So that was really good. And I did that for a bit until, so this is all the way up to 2020, when what happened. And so this is when everything shut down. Gyms closed, restaurants closed. So all the jobs that I was working, they no longer existed. And so I was faced with a choice, sit by and collect unemployment and just chill, or use this opportunity to go all in on your dream life and really start to create it. So I put $9,000 on a credit card into a mentorship of how to build an online fitness business, and the rest is history. I started that in April of 2020, and ever since then I've been going strong. So that's coming up on 4 years here, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. Like you look at the statistics of starting small businesses and the failure rate, it's pretty high. So the fact that I've been able to do it for 4 years full time is pretty awesome. There's been ups and downs, but just want to give myself a pat on the back there. And yeah, if you're thinking about starting something, it's going to be hard, but so worth it. So April 2020, getting some clients, and this is really just fitness coaching with a little bit of like holistic thrown in there, of like meditate, journal, do some breath work, stuff like that. And yeah, I exited the employee system, or whatever you want to call it, 9 to 5. I exited the 9 to 5 lifestyle in April 2020, and I've been working for myself ever since then. And again, major chain that people are being held down by is this working a job that you hate, working to build someone else's dream that you don't care about. So I was able to get out of that, and it wasn't easy. It still isn't easy, but I thoroughly believe that was one of the most impactful, important things that I've ever done in my life, was quitting that job. So 2020, yeah, it was just like ever since then, 2020 was good. I got things off the ground. I started getting traction. And then throughout this whole period, I've been obsessed with getting better, being a better coach, more resources, more understanding. And this has led me down the path that I've gone. So I learned how to read blood work on functional ranges, and not just like how a doctor reads it, which is invaluable in my opinion, and just sets me apart so much further than a lot of other people. And learning about hormones and just like how the body operates, and holistic health, like true holistic health, gut health, like all these different things. I joined a mentorship called the Institute of Health in 2021, and I've been in there ever since, and I've just learned so much from them. Shout out Jake. He's been pivotal in my growth, and just not just a business owner, but also a coach. Yeah. And the theme here, like mentors have been big for me, like Jake Griff with the fitness, and then now wealth, Jake with health and a little bit of business. And then, I've had a bunch of other ones sprinkled in between them, but those are the two main ones. So 2021, it was a decent year, ups and downs. I start off good and then I go down, just the struggles of like getting clients and stuff like that. But throughout this whole time, I'm improving my skill set. I'm getting more reps, and I'm sticking around. I'm still here. I'm not quitting, which is a major theme. 2022, same kind of thing. Started all right, or maybe didn't start good, got better towards the end. And then yeah, still here, still working, still improving my skill set, just getting better and better. I worked with a life coach to learn how to become a life coach, and had mental, mindset, emotional support into my coaching. So just like holistic as fuck, no stone unturned. All the skills that you need to have to facilitate a transformation, I was accumulating them, which I think has ultimately allowed me to survive, because I have a really good skill set and the service that I provide is pretty good. So imagine that. So 2023 started off all right. And then towards the end, so let's say October, September is when things really started to kick up a little bit. Like say we were in first gear throughout the whole 2020, 21, 22, in 2023, end of 2023, which isn't actually that recent. I got in a second gear or third gear. Let's say first gear was 2020, second gear was 2022 and 23. No, 21 and 22, and then third gear, end of 23. So started getting more consistent business, really good results, systems, like I was dialing in my message, all these things that you need. Just felt like I was hitting my stride. And just all the things in my personal life have been going much better as well. Like throughout this whole time in 2019, October 2019, that's when me and my girlfriend got together. We moved out to Austin in 2021. And so that was a big dream for me, to leave New Orleans, to get out of that kind of lifestyle and live this new life where we're living in this awesome apartment. We have dogs. We're like building a family. And that was something that I really wanted. And all these aspects of my life are improving. Going from 9 to 5, alone, depressed, unfulfilled, to the complete opposite of that. Not exactly where I want to be, but moving very, very, getting closer and closer to this idea that I want. And then I looked back, and in 2023, like I'm living that life. I make my own schedule. My health is on point. I'm able to go to the gym whenever I want. All these different things that I'm so thankful for and so blessed for, that one decision of quitting my job just created so much abundance, created so much growth for me. And so that has been, so back to the timeline, 2023, business started to get better. So I had a little bit less stress. I had more momentum and just able to focus on a bunch of other opportunities. I joined a professional indoor soccer team. We didn't win a game in our first season, but we've won a lot more this season. So I'm recording this, it's March 2024. And all those months of 2023 and leading into the first 2 months of this year, business has been the best that it's ever been. January was a record month. February was also a record month. I just ran a testosterone optimization masterclass and I crushed it. It was awesome. If you want the link to the replay, just comment below or DM me. You want the replay. So that's kind of where I am now. So I just wanted to give that brief overline so you understand who I am, where I come from, what I've struggled with, and where I am now. And it's just this. And so coming back to the idea of life unchained. Previously, my health probably wasn't as good. Definitely had low testosterone. I was unfulfilled because of the job that I was working. I had these societal pressures of you should go to school, get a job, get good grades, have a 401k. There's mental aspects, just like loneliness, a lack of community, lack of connection. All of those things I've been able to get rid of. I've been able to break all of those invisible chains that I just listed out. And now I am living life unchained. I truly believe that. And every day that I wake up, sometimes I don't, but most of the time I look back and I'm grateful. I look back of how far I've come, who I was. If you would have asked me even 5-6 years ago, would I be where I am now? I'd be like, you're talking about someone else. There's no way that I can do that. But I just slowly chipped away at it. I think perseverance and patience is probably my top skill, because there's so many people that I came up with that were into coaching and stuff. They don't exist anymore. They quit. And maybe it took too long for them. Maybe it wasn't as fulfilling, but I'd known deep down, like, this is the thing for me. This is the one thing. And so I'm going to put all my resources into it, all of my effort, and get to that result that I want, which I'm not there yet. But if I look around at my life, it's pretty sweet. And so that's what this podcast is all about. It's removing these chains that are holding us back from living this life that we really want, whether that's from a health perspective, business, community, personal, mindset, all of these things that we're going to be diving into. So I hope that was valuable. That was kind of my story. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'm going to wrap this up. I'll see you guys on the next one.